a divorced single mom who loves her babies, but would I ever do it again? Probably not. It's just like really hard to share. I didn't realize how hard this was to share, and I don't want you guys to think that like this is like a sad video. Like this is like happy tears. I'm losing my voice per usual. I'm always losing my voice because I'm always yelling because I'm always like so excited and I don't know my own like voice range. Welcome back. I'm doing 30 videos for 30 days just to kind of like see what happens. I'm super curious, and I kind of like want to sit on this blue thing. Why? Kind of. Is it too close? Nah. No such thing as too close. It's time to share. I'm getting emotional because I'm not gonna cry. I'm just like overwhelmed with them. So happy that I didn't give up. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. Okay, so to the women that never had any children, and the women that did have children, the women that tried for 10 years or 20 years, and the women that adopted, and the women that had a difficult time like me. So I'm just gonna share my story, and I'm excited. My camera keeps doing this. Not to bring up too much of the past because I did let a lot of that go, but I was in this relationship with this guy, and we've spoken about this before, I've shared this before. We were involved in a church, and we were obviously doing things that we were not supposed to be doing, aka having sex, because I feel like having sex is a big part of a relationship, so normalcy there. And we ended up getting pregnant, and it was like super early on, and I miscarried. I'm like, I know I'm pregnant, and it was scary because we never had those like serious conversations. Like we thought about like and wanted to progress, but like we just weren't there, and we were young and immature. So that was my first miscarriage, and I don't think I really told anyone. Like my closest friends know. I wasn't far along. I was probably like 2 months. So but I feel like any loss is a loss. So I miscarried with that relationship. We broke up, and I ended up meeting my now ex-husband, and kids obviously were on the table. Like we really wanted to have kids and be parents, and so we get married, and we don't like immediately try, but he was military, and so like obviously we enjoyed each other while we had each other, and I got pregnant. And I remember like having this feeling of like, is this what it feels like for like, I'm crying again. Is this what it feels like? Like this feeling I've wanted so badly, and now like I waited until I knew that like this was my person, and then and I'm sorry guys, this is hard to share. I didn't know it was gonna be this hard to share. So anyways, we get married, and I get pregnant. Two months in, and I get my period. And it happened again and again and again, and I'm like, what the heck? So finally we get to Hawaii. I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like everything happens for a reason. Like I don't understand like what's going on, but like it's okay. Like I did have a lot of peace in my heart from like the first one, the second one, the third one, and everything like that. So anyways, we get to Hawaii, and it's absolutely beautiful, and there was like a lot going on. Like it was just like crazy, like the moving and this and that. Anyways, so hard time getting into the doctor there. So I actually called up my mother-in-law at the time, and was like, hey, I went off. So I ended up having to go off of base to find a doctor, because military, anything is just difficult. And I'm new here, and like I didn't have any help or any direction or any guidance there, which was frustrating, because I'm like, I have miscarried at this point 3 times, and I just want someone to like help me and be here for me, like a doctor, which is normal, right? So I ended up going off base, finding a doctor, and she was like, you have a ghost pregnancy. Like, you are growing, it's growing, but there's nothing inside. And anyways, or what's inside died early. I think that's what ended up happening. Like, I had something and what was inside already died, but my body wasn't processing it. And I think the term for it is like ghost pregnancy. It was really hard, and I was like, what does any of this mean? Like, I didn't even know like this was possible. So since I couldn't get like a normal doctor on base, I asked, and my husband at the time was on this thing called Pathways, and I think at this point in time he was in South Korea, and I was all alone on an island. I literally knew no one. Like, I knew like a handful of girls, and they ended up being like super, super, super mean, except for like one of them. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what is actually going on? And we had a dog at the time, Athena, and Athena was, so in Hawaii, you have to do this like quarantining for your dog. And at the time it was 4 months long. So I was like, my dog is sick. She was sick at the time. She was in this quarantine thing. I miscarried again. And so my husband was in South Korea, and I was like, what is going on in my life right now? Like, what is happening? Like, God, I honored you. Like, I did everything you asked me to do. I did everything like playbook. Like, so I ended up, my mother-in-law flew me out to Virginia, and we went to a doctor, and we took an ultrasound, everything like that. This is hard to say. And he was like, you have two options. An option is take this medicine to like flush it out, or get the surgery. And I was like, well, how? Really hard decision to make. So I ended up going with the surgery because I just wanted it to be done and over with. I didn't want any guessing games in it. How long is this going to take? What's in this medicine? Like, I'm one of those people where I'm like, I'm not going to take anything that I don't know what it is and what it's going to do, especially with food. Like, I don't want to eat anything that is processed and chemically and disgusting. I just don't. Like, I care about my body and what I put in it. So I made the decision to go ahead and get this thing called the DNC. And you want to know, that was really difficult. And sharing this is really difficult, but there are so many women out there that go through this. I just want to share. I feel led to share. So I need a minute. Luckily, my mother-in-law was and is like a really loving and welcoming and accepting person, and she took really good care of me. And for me, I was distraught. I'm like, what's wrong with me at that point? Which is silly, because when God, source, or whatever you believe in, puts that desire in your heart, that is for you, and that's like a promise. Like, that desire is not there for no reason. And I'm sure every woman that does want kids, goes through this, and they're just like, why? Why do I have to go through this? But everything that I've been through is, I believe, to like share with other women. This phone is driving me absolutely crazy. Which is ridiculous. Okay. So it was really difficult. Like, I remember like going to bed that night and just being like, I just want my husband here. I just want to hold him and like feel like anything other than what I'm feeling right now. And I just remember thinking, but he's away in Korea, South Korea. And at this point in time, I am almost certain there was like a false missile that went off in Hawaii when we first got there. And it was horrifying. I think they made a movie about it. We were actually on a hike with our friends, Chase and Samantha, and they were the most genuine, beautiful people I've ever met. Samantha, they're amazing, and I love them very much, and I hold them very near and dear to my heart, and I always will. So anyways, at that point, I was like, no more. When I get back, I'm gonna switch my insurance because off of Army insurance, because I can't just fly to another state whenever something goes wrong. So I switched my insurance, and I found a doctor in Hawaii, Dr. Sung, and he was just like the sweetest, kindest. His staff was sweet and kind, and we ended up doing some blood work, and we found the root of the issue. The issue is that my husband's blood, he's an A positive, and I think I'm a B negative. I'm RH negative, and my body, I guess, I should probably read up on it some more. Even though I read up on it, I still am like, I don't understand. But my body like would attack the baby because it saw it as foreign. So my body was attacking these babies because it saw it as foreign, and so I ended up, being diagnosed with that, with RH negative blood and having rare blood type, whatever. And they gave me this shot called Rogan or something, and we got pregnant. I got pregnant. I think it was right around the 4th of July that we found out. It was like, we found out about Remington like really early. And I remember my first ultrasound, I was like so excited, but at this point I was like so like skeptical maybe, and hurt and scared that like I wouldn't be able to like see the end of this process with Remy. So I was like, I kept it to myself for a really long time, and I had asked my husband at the time to keep it to himself for a really long time. So Remy was a secret for a while. My Mimi ended up flying out to Hawaii, and Noah had gone away again. At this point, I was 8 weeks pregnant, and my Mimi was with me, and I remember her saying like, do you really want to do this? Is this what you really want? And I was like, I want to tell you so badly, like my journey to be here, like I've miscarried 4 times. And she knew about the DNC, and she's like, are you ready? Like, are you ready? And I just remember like being so offended. And I wish I could like go back in that moment and just be like, just give her a hug. We were driving, so like I couldn't give her a hug. She'd be like, yeah, I'm ready. Like, I want babies. Give me the babies. So my Mimi was there when we found out that Remy was a boy, and I was like, I'm having a boy. All I've ever wanted was a baby boy. I mean, if it was a girl, I would just be equally as excited, but that was a beautiful day. So I did not enjoy being pregnant, and I don't feel guilty saying that because I'm 5 foot tall. I was 5 foot tall, 110 pounds, growing literally out to here. I actually have some like photos on my Facebook somewhere. Maybe I'll attach a couple of them of my belly, but like I was a beluga whale and I was pregnant. Anyways, I didn't like being pregnant. It just like wasn't for me. And like there's a lot of women that are like, I love being pregnant. This is amazing. I feel so great. And I'm like, I want what you have. A shipload of containers. Remy was born, and it was so magical. Like, I'm not gonna go into my birth story because it was treacherous, but I would do it 100 times, a million times over just to see that sweet face. And he had the sweetest cry. Like, I remember him starting to cry the first day he was born, and I looked at the nurse. Is this for real? Is that baby crying? He was like, well, like the sweetest little cry, and I was like, my heart. So that was my journey to Remy. I do want to insert one thing. After my DNC, I was actually in this church, at church, on base, and in this program called NAVS, it's called Navigators, and I had a really amazing support system, and it was just beautiful. I'm having like a really hard time remembering a couple of like events, like when I had gone up to have the DNC, but I do remember at one point when I was up I say in the States, Hawaii is a state. I feel like it just really felt like I was in like another country, because technically, I don't know, whatever. I went to church, and this new release came out, I think from Hillsong, and it's called So Alive. Just like gives me goosebumps and like chills. And in that song it says, you know, if that thing will worship you, so will I. But I believe this is my truth. So I just prayed, and I was like, you know what? I will continue to worship you, and I'm so excited for when that day comes. This is where the fun starts. Remy was 3, maybe 3.5 months old. And I just got back from a trip with the company that I was working for at the time in Hawaii. And it was in Idaho. And I lived in Hawaii, so there was a lot of traveling. I was talking to one of the ladies there, Janet, and she had vertigo. And I was like, Janet, I think I have vertigo. Like, I'm feeling like a little like in the sea, you know? And she's like, girl. No, she didn't say it like that, but basically she was like, girl, when's the last time you had your period? I don't know, 3 months ago. And for some reason, like, I thought I read somewhere that it takes 5 months to get your period after you have a baby, especially if you're breastfeeding, which I was. And so me and my other coworker, no, don't say that. I have a 3-month-old. How is it even possible? Google told me that's not true. I go upstairs and I go to my manager and I'm like, I have to go to the doctors right now. Like, I need to go. I need to see if the rave is real. All the rage is real. So I go to the doctor and she's like, you have to do a pee test. And I'm like, look, I'm not pregnant. Just tell me when I'm getting my period. And me being defensive was me basically saying, in my mind and in my heart, I'm like, you know, how I told you guys before, like, you have to keep up with those shots in order to, like, I don't know, keep the baby. I don't know how that works. I'm not a doctor, but all I know is that I was like, I haven't had that shot in forever, so, like, there's no way I'm pregnant. And I didn't want to feel that feeling again of, like, being let down or, like, being pregnant and needing surgery or, like, you know, all the things I had been through before. I was like, there's no way. What do you know? Positive. She's like, the lady starts giggling. She's like, man, you guys don't waste any time. And I'm like, so she's like, we're gonna have to do an ultrasound on you. And I'm like, don't waste your time. There's nothing there. Probably, like, you know, not alive. Whatever's there is not alive. So get the ultrasound. I saw his fingers and his toes the first ultrasound that I had. I was like, that's a baby. It didn't even, like, when you like usually go for like your first ultrasound, you'll see like a little circle or like a little dinosaur looking thing. No, this child was a full-blown child at this point. Fingers, toes, everything. Saw his heartbeat, and I was just like, hey, how's it going in there? Oh my God. I was like, hey, what the heck? Like, the doctors have to ask you this, I think. They're like, so what are you gonna do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I gonna do? It's a full-blown child right now. I was 12 weeks along with Jameson. I didn't know if it was boy or girl yet. With Remy, we knew at like 8 weeks what he was, but we weren't able to tell with Jameson until like 5 months, 20 weeks. So that was quite the surprise. So I was walking around with the newborn, with the bump, and people are like, is that your baby? Are you pregnant? And I'm like, yes, this is mine. And I'll never forget when I had Jameson. Well, actually, it's funny. We thought Jamie was a girl, and I was walking around, and I was like, oh, little Blakely. And I bought this pink chair from my neighbor, Carly. Hey, Carly. Guys, Carly is a saint. She was my neighbor in Hawaii for obviously the whole time. And I don't know if I would have survived without her. I remember like every day coming home from work and like just seeing like her little dog Lily on the little like patio just like barking, and I was like, hey Lil. And Athena and Lily were like, Athena loved Lily. But Athena didn't know her own size. She was a German Shepherd, and she's just a big girl. Carly is just this beautiful soul of a human being. And I hold her so, 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 so near and dear to my heart. And she was a phenomenal auntie to Remington and Jameson. And her husband they're just beautiful people. I went to their wedding in Chicago. And I'm literally getting goosebumps thinking about their wedding. That's my story. I had Jameson right in the very beginning of the pandemic on an island called Hawaii, and it was very intense. But that's my story. It's funny. I remember being like a little girl, like sitting on my bed talking with my best friend, being like, "Ooh, what do you want when you grow up?" Like, you know, like your fairy tales. Like, I want to get married and I want kids and love. And I was always like, I want twins. God, give me twins. I want twins. I want them to match and I want to match them. Like, please give me twins. Like, I need twins. And I remember thinking that being pregnant was like not a fun experience for me for a lot of reasons. And I'm very, very, very grateful for being able to bear children and give life and create. And I'm so deeply thankful for that. But I just didn't enjoy being pregnant. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, it was great. No, it sucked for me. It really did. It was not fun. I was sick. I was moody. I was like, don't even look at me. Don't breathe on me. Don't tell me what to do. Just feed me Cheetos and Dr. Pepper and tell me I'm pretty, because that's all I want. And I will never forget, my Mimi would always say to me as a little girl, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you ask for, because you might just get it. And I just thought it was hilarious because, like I said, they're 10 months apart. They're Irish twins. They're not actually twins. They didn't grow together at the same time, but very, very close together. So that's my very short story on my journey to becoming a mommy. And there's a lot of things that I left out, but there was a lot that I didn't. And it was very up close and personal. But I just wanted to share because I just felt led to share. I got their photos back today, their spring photos. And I'm obviously I'm going to show you guys their pictures. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who supported me during my journey of becoming a mother. The journey of becoming a mommy was interesting. And I hope that sharing this story encourages you to pray, manifest, believe, meditate on your dreams and not to give up. And if you have that desire in your heart, it's there for a reason. And if you can't bear children, then there's other ways you can adopt. I'm adopted, adoption's always in the cards. Like, I thought briefly, I'm like, if I have to adopt, then that's even just as beautiful. I'm happy I get to share with you my journey. And I feel like there's something else I wanted to share, but I don't remember. Do I remember? No. Oh, I get questions sometimes. They're like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't freaking know. I don't know. I just do it. I figured out. And they're like, how did you learn, the ins and outs of being a mom? And did your first help you with your second, and vice versa? My firstborn child, Remy, was literally the sweetest soul you'll ever meet in your whole life. Like, he couldn't hurt a fly. Well, that's a lie, because he stomped on an ant the other day, and I was like, oh, you stomped on an ant? Like, what's going on? But he was just so easy. He was like the easiest baby ever. Like, his cry was like just like, wah, literally. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. And he ate everything. He didn't dislike anything. And he was just easy baby. Jameson, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. They're literally like yin and yang. Like, Jameson, his cry was like, it could break glass. His cry and scream could break my wine glasses. Like, so boss baby. He's like, no. I posted a video the other day. I'm like, Jamie, give mommy a kiss. No. But you know what? Future CEO. So much. I'm going to give myself a big hug. You did it. You don't have to do it again. Don't be traumatized. And I just want to give you a hug and just be like, if it's been a difficult journey, or you never got there, or you're not there yet, or you're doing IVF, or you're doing surrogate, or whatever you're doing, I love you. You're beautiful. You're a creator, and I'm excited for you. I don't know. I have nothing else to say, but I'm excited for you, and I just want to like give you a big hug. And just I'm out. Sorry I cried. Not really, because I'm emotional.